that are essential to life, help can't wait. And the ability of Amazon to quickly have things at the ready that can get out the door very fast and be sent by plane is a huge help to us.
Amazon has opened a disaster relief hub in suburban Atlanta. The facility has been filled with 500,000 donated emergency supplies, which will help organizations like the American Red Cross reach victims of hurricanes and other natural disasters faster and more efficiently. The supplies include tents and tarps, as well as water containers and filters, medical equipment, clothing, and kitchen gear. Kudos to Amazon for doing that and being prepared in advance, well in advance. And that's what you should do at home, especially now that we are officially in hurricane season. Thankfully, we're not tracking too much any of activity. You do see a little bit of a spin there in the Bahamas. That is not going to be any cause for concern. But we are tracking Tropical Storm Blanca in the East Pacific. Again, already at the B storm, a named storm. Now remember, the East Pacific hurricane season starts a little bit earlier, starts usually mid-May, gets active a little bit earlier too than the Atlantic does, but typically a lot of the storms do tend to stay out to sea more so than the Atlantic. All right, so here we go. Where are we at on average? Notice the averages have come up just a little bit, especially when it comes to named storms. 14 is the average now over the last 30 years, and 7 hurricanes on average. Meanwhile, 3 major hurricanes, and we're all expecting, for the most part, an above average season. Now, how many of these storms or hurricanes affect land? Those are the things we still don't know exactly, and it just takes one, Jackie, for real, devastation. So even though it's going to be a very active season, maybe no hurricanes impact the mainland U.S.
And amazing, right?
People wouldn't view that necessarily as an active season. So it really kind of depends on your location, but on the scale as a whole in the Atlantic Basin, it looks like another busy year.
But the higher number of the storms, the higher the risk that one of them could
exactly,
have
go out big time.
Yeah, so folks need to be prepared for that. Well, more storms are firing up today in Florida, but yesterday we even saw a few water spouts off the coast of Miami, like this one. What a beautiful perspective where you see the blue skies on the right, and then you see a line of thunderstorms there, one of which is producing a water spout. Neat perspective. I like it. You see the blue water too. Florida today, another busy place when it comes to showers and thunderstorms. Not really expecting much for severe weather today, but lots of storms and showers, kind of spotty all over the place. I wanted to bring you the broader perspective because a lot of our storms yesterday really had to do with this upper disturbance that we're dealing with here now, which is due south towards the southern Bahamas and near Cuba, but we're still kind of feeling the impacts of that upper low helping to bring in winds from a southeasterly direction along with our Bermuda high, which is over here somewhere, helping to bring in the winds from that direction as well. So that brings in convergence, that brings in showers and thunderstorms. We have that onshore flow. And a lot of us are getting wet today in terms of just quick hit and miss rain showers. There are a couple of thunderstorms here, a couple of lightning bolts, but nothing reaching severe limits. Just know that we could get some ponding of water on the roadways, and that's going to be the case here in North Florida too. In fact, a lot of this stretches up into the Georgia coast and into the South Carolina coast as well. Storms are going to be off and on for the rest of the day today. Getting a little break, most likely into the morning for tomorrow, and then with the heating of the day, the sea breeze fronts beginning to develop again, we'll see more widespread showers and thunderstorms. But this is kind of the beginning of that rainy season and something we got to keep an eye on. And too, Chris, sometimes those upper lows can turn into tropical systems.
Yep.
Doesn't look like that's going to happen this time around, but nothing to worry about. Too much shear and a number of other reasons, but it's old frontal boundaries. It's little tiny disturbances that can turn into something. So we got to start watching that.
Don't want to be caught by surprise, that's for sure. Well, let's talk about heat because we know it is going to be hot. The heat is building, and it's too bad it's not Memorial Day this upcoming weekend because, man, it would have been a perfect summer way to kick off the unofficial start to summer. In fact, it'll be the very opposite as to what you saw over Memorial Day weekend. Now, here in Coney Island, temperatures in the upper 60s. I think I'm reading that correctly. So mostly cloudy skies, still kind of chilly, but don't worry, temperatures on the way up. In fact, in New York City, our average high should be about 76 degrees. Look at what lies ahead. By the time we hit Saturday, we'll make it into the upper 80s. Then we may be pushing the 90-degree mark for a few days in a row before dropping back into the middle 80s by next week. So the heat is going to be arriving. Won't be record-breaking, but certainly above average. We'll see it even hotter, though, in the upper Midwest. Here in the Northeast, we really have to get to early next week for the heat to really increase. You notice it in places like Binghamton on Sunday, 85, 90 in in Burlington, 90 in Boston, 90 in New York City. By Monday, still about 90 here along the coast, even hotter towards New England. Look at Burlington now, the Champlain Valley sitting in the lower 90s. In Boston, your average high of low 70s. We're going to be about 20 degrees warmer than that early next week.
Your heart is at the heart of everything you do. And if you have heart failure, there's Entresto.
I'm going to come take a look at this snow, but you are looking at snow clouds. They actually had to be used to remove hail in Spain. Summer thunderstorms really packing a punch, piling the hail, destructive at times as it came down in severe weather here across the pond, Jackie.
That is wild. Well, severe storms continue to take aim in this country at the Southern Plains and the Gulf Coast in Galveston, Texas yesterday. Beachgoers had quite a sight. Did you see that? That's a water spout that developed. It's over the water, not bothering anybody out there. But still, one of the signs that storms have been brewing and heating up.
And severe weather in the cards for the eastern seaboard as we head into the day tomorrow. This includes cities like the Tri-Cities from eastern Tennessee back up through the Shenandoah Valley, but we're really looking at the mid-Atlantic. So Richmond up to D.C., Baltimore, the Chesapeake Bay, Philadelphia, Trenton, New Jersey, and even New York City in play for some strong and even damaging storms tomorrow afternoon, Jackie.
And temperature is a big part of the weather story as well. Things are heating up here out west, Reno, Nevada. Clear skies right now, but your temperatures soaring. You're going to be working your way through the upper 90s today. Many folks out west are going to be experiencing record heat. Pretty early to see some of the triple digits we've been getting. And first, a live look, though, at Jackson, Mississippi, where storms expected to fire up again here this afternoon, some of which may become severe. Our storm specialist, Carl Parker, is tracking it all in the lab for us today. Carl?
Hey, Jackie, so we've got some ingredients today. Certainly, we're looking at plenty of instability for storms to fire. We've got some limited stronger wind aloft and some turning of the wind aloft. And so it's not going to be a huge severe day, but there will certainly be some warnings at least. And let's take a look at what's going on with the atmosphere. Now, our surface winds are coming out of the south like that, and our winds in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, up at around 18,000 feet, are coming out of the west-southwest like that. So there's a lot of turning of the winds through a deep layer of the atmosphere. We call that deep layer shear, and that can be more supportive of organized storm structures, and we're starting to see a little bit of evidence of that. And right now, as you look at the instability, that's the available fuel for storms, the low-level warm and humid air, and how the temperature profile changes as you go up through the atmosphere. We've got plenty of fuel for storms right now in Mississippi and also in western Tennessee. So storms are getting a little more energetic along the 59 corridor, and then to the north, another cluster of storms getting more interesting here in northeastern Mississippi and also into south central Tennessee. And then when you look a little bit more closely here, you can occasionally see some little kidney bean-like structures in some of these storms. So they are trying to become supercells. They don't have quite enough organization to get there yet, but certainly that is testament to what's going on in the atmosphere. You've got this low-level flow and mid-level flow coming out of different directions, so that would be more supportive of organized storm structures. So again, it wouldn't be surprising to see some warnings for wind or hail, maybe even a tornado warning at some point. And the threat here is going to be from north and central Mississippi into northwest Alabama, into central and western Tennessee and Kentucky. Primarily wind and hail, maybe a tornado or two. Now here's the model forecast showing you how this first area of storms makes its way into north central Alabama later this afternoon. So Huntsville getting towards Birmingham, another area near Jackson, and then later this evening we expect that first area to begin to fizzle. Still some storms from, say, Meridian up into Tuscaloosa, and another round of storms in Tennessee, and that will make its way towards Nashville through the evening hours, and then everything begins to really settle down as we lose a lot of that instability, which is not off the charts to begin with. It's low to moderate, and it's going to fall quickly to low as we lose the daytime heating. So best threat for storms, best chance for storms is going to be this evening in Nashville, and then in Jackson, Mississippi, we think it's going to be later this afternoon, maybe some hit and miss storms as we get into the deeper evening hours. Jackie, over to you.
Well, floodwater is forcing the Travis County, Texas flight crew to make a daring helicopter rescue. Take a look at this. It happened yesterday near Austin when a man's car got stuck going over a low water crossing. Emergency officials were able to pull him to safety. This was one of 48 water crossings, 48 that were closed in the area due to the relentless downpours that kept pounding away. So here we go again, Texas. More active weather on the way for you. You already had some earlier today and more expected into the afternoon. This is the water vapor imagery. There's just a lot going on with this that we can pick out into the atmosphere, one of which is that upper spin that we see here back over Baja, California, that's starting to move its way up towards the north and east. That green color that you can see there from the overnight, that was a lot of that moisture getting lifted and into the thunderstorms, and just the milky white that you see everywhere. That's just high levels of moisture being concentrated as well. So we've got an upper level disturbance that's tracking through here. We had a little complex of thunderstorms overnight and early this morning, and what that did is that in essence left a little outflow boundary right in here. And oftentimes old outflow boundaries tend to be the trigger point for new thunderstorms later in the day, and that's exactly what's going on right now to the north and west of San Angelo. That's going to be the main area we need to keep an eye on for storms to go severe within the next couple of hours. From Prediction Center highlighting that area and saying there's about a 40% chance that they'll have to issue a watch here. Regardless if we get a watch or not, I do think a few storms here could reach severe limits. So we have up to our chance for severe weather in the darker red area here for that possibility from Midland down through Fort Stockton, but still could get a couple that produce some large hail, say across the eastern parts of New Mexico, even down towards Houston. That could be more damaging winds across that area. Our future radar looks like this. It's initializing a little bit better than it was before, so that's some good news, but keep an eye on the timing of that. You can see more individual thunderstorms developing through the rest of the afternoon and into the evening hours, and then as we get more lift coming in from the west, we'll start to watch that area begin to really blow up later on today and throughout the evening hours as well. Now, as we head through the overnight, some of the activity dies down, but some of it also kind of comes together into another complex a little bit here by early tomorrow morning. So just be aware of the severe weather risk this afternoon, this evening, and then also the risk of some really heavy rainfall, especially into the overnight as well. Chris?
And the next stop for storms that we're seeing today will be farther east tomorrow. So we're looking at cities like Washington, D.C. or Philadelphia. Partly cloudy skies for this afternoon, but storms could pack a punch tomorrow at this time, and then heading into the rush hour and even dinner time hours. Thunderstorms will grow as we get closer to the end of the week. So let's bring in storm specialist Carl Parker. Let's talk about that severe threat tomorrow. What hazards are we looking at? Who's you think most at play for the strongest of storms?
Well, it's going to be wind, I think primarily, maybe some hail as well, and that'll be from Philly to Baltimore to D.C. and down into south central Virginia. That's where the greatest risk is going to be tomorrow afternoon, but also potentially some strong to severe storms over a much larger area of the Appalachians and the southeast down into Atlanta and Columbia and Charlotte. Now, there's a look at the energy available to produce storms, the instability. We talked about that a few moments ago. We've got that in place. We're also going to be looking at even stronger mid-level winds tomorrow. The mid-level winds that are sort of modest today are going to be strengthening between today and tomorrow, which means even more potential for organization and more potential for that mid-level wind to get into storms and get transferred down to the ground via these stronger storms. So here you see the model forecast and some cells popping out in parts of North and South Carolina. Then you've got this developing line right there, and that line starts to get more energetic and come into D.C. and Baltimore in the afternoon, into Philly, and then roll across beyond that, and even some perhaps additional activity in the western part of the Carolinas, South Carolina, into very late tomorrow. Now, there are model differences in these high-resolution models, which is what you'd expect at this distance in time. These high-resolution models are really, really good when you're out, several hours. When we're looking at it, for example, tomorrow at 1 p.m. to see what's going to be happening at 5 p.m., we should have a very good idea of how exactly it's going to unfold. When you're a good, 20 to 24 hours out, well, they're not as good, but they're meant to give you the flavor of what's going to happen. And the flavor is that we are likely going to see some storms rolling in in the afternoon, maybe the early evening in Baltimore and DC, and they're probably going to be pretty strong, producing some wind and or some hail. So just be aware of that. Could be a really difficult drive home tomorrow on the Beltway. It's already a beast, of course, on a normal day, and then you add this and it's going to be that much more difficult. So there's a look at the threat for severe weather, and then it's going to be really stepping up tomorrow there in DC, and maybe some lingering storms into tomorrow night. Chris, over to you.
Well, after the winter we had in Texas and now the heavy rainfall, roads have really been taking a beating this year, and they're showing signs of wear and tear. This is a result of winter ice storms, back-to-back snowstorms, spring showers, and now the summer flooding. The Texas Department of Transportation is asking drivers to be careful of potholes. They're also asking people to report the potholes they see so that they can be patched before they cause an issue for other drivers.
I just hit it. Didn't even know it was there. Blew out my tire. Just completely blew it out. I'm mad. I'm real upset. I'm real upset because, we shouldn't have to drive on highways like this. Now I have to get a new tire, new rim, because my rim is messed up.
Well, let's get a look at how much rain we may be seeing in the coming days, and unfortunately it looks very wet here. Latest trends are calling for a widespread area of 3 to 5 inches and some locally higher amounts, especially near the Houston metro area and there in East Texas. The latest runs have now shifted some of the heavier rainfall back into Louisiana. That's a problem. You remember just a couple of weeks ago in Lake Charles, Baton Rouge, when we had water rescues, flooded roads, swamping many areas in those locations? If we were to get that much rain, we may see a kind of a repeat situation, unfortunately, just given how saturated it has been. Let's get a look at a couple of indicators. One thing is a new upper level disturbance that will kind of swing through parts of Texas. Instead of West Texas kind of being the focal point like we've seen as of late, it's going to be more Eastern Texas. But here's where we stand heading into the end of the week. So really the heaviest rain starts to pick up here by Friday from the Hill Country, south of Dallas, into Houston, Brownsville, Corpus Christi, getting into Louisiana as we head into your day on Saturday. Widespread showers, heavy thunderstorms, and multiple rounds of slow-moving torrential downpours can be what we expect. You have plenty of moisture kind of lifting up here off of the Gulf of Mexico. And one thing we look at as meteorologists is precipitable water. So if you see your neighborhood or where you live under some of those yellows and oranges, that means the atmosphere is in prime condition to really unleash heavy rainfall rates. The deeper the color, like oranges and reds, the heavier the rain could fall, and that could really mean some serious flooding. So Houston, one city that we're watching very closely heading into the weekend. And then here, even in getting to Memphis, say Monroe, Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and again the northern Gulf Coast, a spot to watch. Even after Saturday into Sunday, we stay wet with this hit and miss thunderstorms, more scattered about in nature, but still producing quite a bit of rainfall. So again, a close-up view heading into early next week across the southeast. Afternoon thunderstorms are going to be kind of the name of the game. Here in Houston, we're looking at generally anywhere from 3 to maybe 5 inches, but there could be some pockets that end up with quite a bit more than that, so be on the lookout. We know how easily a city like Houston can flood, and a lot of this will fall not only within the next 5 days, but within a 1 to 2 day time span, Jackie. So again, it's all the rate at which the rain falls, and it's just a short period that causes the most issues.
And the ground's been so saturated so much of Texas lately too. All right, thanks, Chris. Ground's been the exact opposite across parts of the west. It's been so dry, and now dangerous heat continuing to build here. We've got a live look at Reno, Nevada, as well as Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix, you did it. You did it already, Phoenix. It's lunchtime, and we're looking at 100 degrees already. Reno's into the upper 80s. You're well into the mid, maybe upper 90s as we head into the afternoon hours here for you. A lot of alerts across the west for the heat. We've got some air quality alerts, but mostly we have excessive heat warnings and heat advisories. Everywhere that you see the pink and the red, some type of a heat alert. Check on your people again today. Make sure they're doing okay, especially areas and folks that don't have air conditioning, and take care of the pets too, right? You don't want to leave them outside all day. Make sure they've got shade or air conditioning and lots of water. That's the best thing for you to drink. Look at the highs today. Las Vegas, 106. Phoenix, 106, 90 in Salt Lake, Boise, 97, Helena, Montana, 91 degrees. So the heat is starting to peak out across much of the west today and or tomorrow, depending on what part of the west that you live in. But a big reminder that when there's heat, to check the back seat. You never want to leave a person, your kid, your pet, in the back seat of a vehicle. The temperature goes up very quickly inside a closed vehicle. 10 minutes from 97 to 116 to 131 after a half of an hour. So it's really incredible how quickly that can escalate. So bring the kids into the grocery store. I know,
Oh, yeah.
you know, sometimes they're sassy.
Even for those 5-minute errands, you
Yeah.
never know how long
Yeah.
it ends up taking. The line may be much longer. Always look before you lock. Well, right now, some spots in the northern tier heating up way more than what we're going to see across the south. They always say hot Atlanta, but if you want to escape the heat, you're going to want to head to the southeast or the Gulf Coast. Hard to believe, I know, but wait till you see some of these temperature forecasts. There's a look at Helena, Montana back on May 22nd. Remember this? We had sub-freezing temperatures. We had several inches of snow. Well, now that's all melted because we're in the upper 80s today. We're talking 90s tomorrow. It's about 20 degrees above average here for the Big Sky country. And then the heat starts to shift off towards the east. The upper Midwest going to be the trend as we go into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then eventually the Northeast by Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So here in Bismarck, North Dakota, 101 degrees is what we're forecasting on Friday. The record high, 95. That will shatter the old record. But 101, I mean, most of the Dakotas will be, if not hotter than 100 degrees. You'll see that here in Bismarck with the hottest day being Friday, but still 98. Can't cry about that. Even 86 is cooler, but well above average. On Saturday, again, more record-breaking heat in the Dakotas, likely up near 100 or hotter. On Saturday, Fargo will be nearly 20 degrees hotter.
Here we go, right there. Right there. Complete.
How do you introduce the larger-than-life GMC Yukon? With the world's biggest tweet. The next generation GMC Yukon. Premium. That's made to be used.
I am Robert Strickler. I've been involved in communications in the media for 45 years. I've been taking Prevagen on a regular basis for at least 8 years. For me, the greatest benefit over the years has been that Prevagen seems to help me recall things and also think more clearly. And I enthusiastically recommend Prevagen. It has helped me an awful lot.
Prevagen, healthier brain, better life.
Parents, meet Go Henry, designed to teach kids money skills for life. It's the debit card connected to a smart app, loaded with budgeting tools and complete with parental control. 92% of parents said their children are more money confident since using Go Henry. You set them chores and allowances, they start earning. They spend, you get notified. They set goals and start building savings habits. Plus, they get to customize their cards. Go Henry, tools to get your kids money confident and make your lives easier along the way. Get started now. GoHenry.com.
Visible is wireless that doesn't play games. No surprise fees, legit unlimited data for as little as $25 a month. And the best part, it's powered by Verizon. But it gets crazier. Bring a friend every month and get every month for $5. Which is why I brought them. 2 $5 months right here. Plus the players in my squad. Then finally, my whole live stream. Boom. 12 months of $5 wireless. Visible as little as $25 a month or $5 a month when you bring a friend. Powered by Verizon. Wireless that gets better with friends.
Let's talk about family.
That's hilarious!
Oh my God! I just blew your mind. I get it. The streaming home for the whole family, plus so much more. Discovery Plus, streamed together for just $4.99.
To prove our AA battery is the world's longest lasting, we tested it against our competitor's best battery. And Energizer Ultimate Lithium wins again. Energizer, backed by science, matched by no one.
I'm not hungry! You're having one more bite. No, one more bite.
Kraft for the win.
TracPhone Wireless gives you more control. Just swap your SIM card. You can also keep your phone, keep your network, keep your number. 20 bucks a month, no contract. Don't keep that case, though. This is your wake-up call, people. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control.
Ready to shine from the inside out? Try Nature's Bounty Hair, Skin, and Nails Gummies. The #1 brand to support beautiful hair, glowing skin, and healthy nails. And introducing Jelly Beans with 2 times more biotin.
Why O-Cedar? Because when I get home, we like to play crocodile on the floor. O-Cedar Easy Ring removes over 99% of bacteria, even with just water. Easy and truly clean floors. O-Cedar, it feels great to feel at home.
With Square, all sides of your business work together. From the signs your customers see, to the signs only you see. So you can spend your time seeing something greater take shape.
Absolutely free. Just call 800-341-6067. 800-341-6067.
Currently in our area, 68 degrees under partly cloudy skies. Tonight, cloudy skies early, then off and on rain showers overnight. Low 57, chance of rain 80%. Thursday, rain, high 67, chance of rain 90%. Rainfall near 1/4 inch. Thursday night, scattered thunderstorms, low 61, chance of rain 60%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
This is J Country. Our goal is to find that $1 million boulder. I will dig till my hands bleed.
You never know what you're gonna find. That's so sketchy, dude.
Takes a different kind of a person to want to do this.
Anything can shut you down.
Heaviest one yet. It's almost like we know what we're doing.
Jade makes people do crazy things.
May typically is the peak month for severe weather, but this year storm reports were down significantly across the country, with one exception. That exception was the state of Texas. It leads the U.S. in all severe categories. Nearly 94 tornadoes, 334 reports of damaging wind, including from this line of intense storms that rolled through Austin over the weekend. Now, Texas, of course, wasn't the only state that saw damaging weather. In all, about 285 tornadoes were reported. This is one of them from Nebraska last week. We want to bring in our storm specialist, Carl Parker, now to take a look and analyze some of those numbers and look ahead to June, where we typically expect to see severe weather. Carl, Texas, taking it on the chin compared to everybody else. That said, it's a pretty big state.
It's a very big state, but yeah, they definitely got a lot of severe weather in all categories, and we'll show you that here in a moment. So let's take a look at the biggest days for severe weather so far this year. Of the 4 biggest days, 3 of them were in May. You see the #1 day, May 4th, 458 reports nationwide of severe weather. Now, let's take a look at that in the context of the entire month. And you can see those 3 days really stand out. But then look at the rest of the month. The average daily number of severe weather reports, 122. And many of these days were well below that. I mean, look at May 12th there, only 5 reports of severe weather on the 12th. Remember, we had all those cold fronts coming down in a lot of the east. That is not an optimal pattern for severe weather. So it really was not a very busy period at all for severe weather in general. Now, in terms of tornadoes, we saw about the average number of tornadoes. The average 287, 290 is what we saw, and the lion's share of those tornadoes were in Texas. And again, that's geographical in some respects. It's just such a large state, so it makes a lot of sense. It's also proximity to the Gulf. You notice also that Alabama Alabama and Mississippi come in number 2 and number 3 there on the list of tornadoes to date. And then when we look at hail reports, far and away the most reports are in Texas. And, you know, that has a lot to do with geography as well, because you've got the low-level warm and humid air coming in from the Gulf of Mexico that's supportive of really strong to severe storms. But also you've got drier air coming out of the southwest in the upper levels, and that drier air makes it colder aloft. It lowers the freezing level, and so it's more likely that you're going to get hail as a result. Let's talk about flash flooding. Texas comes out on top there too. 222 reports flash flooding. Tennessee and Alabama numbers 2 and 3. And when we look at flash flood reports relative to average, we're right at the average nationwide. But notice that this line really comes way up over the next few months in particular. We are going into what is going to be a critical period for flash flooding. So you definitely want to be on your toes. Chris, over to you.
Well, we do have the risk for tornadoes this week, and we're still in the peak severe weather season. And if you live in or near a big city, you're going to want to know the truth about how likely a tornado is to hit you. Here's the Weather Channel's Dave Malkoff.
There's a myth out there that tornadoes do not hit big cities. We certainly hear about them more often hitting in rural or suburban areas. The reason? Landmass. This country is definitely more country than it is city, but tornadoes can torment any town, big or small, like here in Atlanta. On March 14, 2008, a supercell system moved through downtown Atlanta, spawning an EF2 tornado. Maximum winds were estimated at 130 miles an hour. One person was killed when a building collapsed, and at least 30 others were injured by debris.
Oh my goodness, that thing is huge.
And no one can forget the EF5 tornado that devastated Oklahoma City in May of 1999, considered one of the costliest in U.S. history, with the damage totaling $1 billion. The lesson here, even if you live right in the heart of downtown in a big city, you should still listen to the weather warnings, have a plan, and you will greatly increase your chance of survival in a severe storm.
And great tips to know, especially as we head into the day tomorrow. We get a lot more urban areas in the risk zone, especially in that darker shade of red where the possibility for severe weather is expected from the mid-Atlantic. This includes Richmond, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, even New York City. Now, as we head to tomorrow afternoon on the West Coast, we'll